Welcome everybody, aka the Foodie Princess. I'm Trisha Jansen. I'm here to teach a very regional favorite, something that I grew up with. I feel like food tells a story, and when I think about my childhood and I think about my dad, I think about Cincinnati style chili. Now there's a little story that goes with this. I'm from Pittsburgh, not from Cincinnati, but my dad would travel, and I remember he came home one day and said, "Hey, I've tasted this chili, you guys have to taste it." And he packed the family and we got in the car and we went to Cincinnati to taste this chili, and we all fell in love. Short story, my dad tried to buy into this business there, and I could have been a chili tycoon, but I'm not. I'm just a foodie princess. So anyway, what we're going to do, this has a lot of ingredients, and so I want you guys, I'll post a recipe on there later so you can see it, but there's tons of stuff in this. So this is one of those like mole, if you're Mexican, is a mole type food where everybody's got their take on it. If you Google Cincinnati style chili, you're going to see authentic Cincinnati chili, and you're going to see kind of renditions of it, so you can decide what you like. What I'm going to do is I'm going to preheat my pan, and I'm using a enameled Dutch oven. You can use whatever you like. I'm going to put some olive oil in it. Now the funny thing about chili, when you make chili, is that typically you want to brown your meat. When you brown meat, it brings out the caramelization in it and the natural sugars, and it really makes it taste good. You're going to do something opposite in this. You're not going to brown the meat. I know, don't freak out. What I like to do is I like to put the onions in. I'm going to use 2 cups of finely chopped onions, and if you want it to be even better, you could probably do shredded or grated onions, which would be better. Alright, so you're going to get this over a heat, and you're going to get this all caramelized, kind of broken down. The point with this chili is that it's not chunky. It's very finely pureed. It's almost like a soup, if you will. So you don't want big chunks in it. You don't want chunks of tomatoes. You don't want chunks of vegetables in it. You want it to be very pureed. Okay? So after we're going to get this going, we're going to add our spices. So I'm going to start with 5 cloves of spice. 5 whole cloves of cloves. Here we go. So we want 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. And I'm just going to put them in here. Then I want some allspice. I'm going to show allspice. And I want 5 of these as well. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's fine. And I'm going to macerate these all up together. And my pestle, if you don't have a pestle, you can just kind of smash them up a little bit. You see how they're in there. And you get all browned up. And what I'm doing is I'm trying to blend the onions and the spices and bring out the natural oils and all the spices. Next I'm going to add some cumin. Okay? I'm going to do 1 teaspoon of cumin. You can use whatever measuring apparatus you have. And you can adjust this to your taste. And I always do it first like this, and then once it's all cooked down, I taste it again and then I adjust the spices as I go. I'm also going to add some coriander, ground coriander. About a teaspoon of that as well. Okay? It's already starting to smell heavenly in here. My spoon won't fit. There we go. That's enough. That's about enough. Alright? Where's my spoon? Here we go. You just want to kind of brown this up. Keep your heat medium. You know, an enamel pan gets really hot. So you want to be careful not to burn it. But you're really trying to break down those onions. You're going to caramelize them and break them down. You don't want them to be too chunky. Alright, so we've got that in there. We're going to add our chili powder. Any kind is good. You can add a mix if you want to do different kinds. This has 1/4 of a cup of chili powder. And again, you can adjust this to your family's taste. And I really don't measure anything, so this is like very odd for me to try and put together something in a recipe, because I'm like, I do it to taste. So that's about 1/4 cup. It's already smelling so good. I wish you had smell-o-vision because you'd smell how delicious this is starting to smell. So again, just getting all the spices. Now, the funny thing about this chili is that it's got chocolate, it's got cinnamon, it's got some really funky ingredients in here. I don't want you to be afraid. They're getting all nice and caramelized. You can look in the pan and see the onions are getting softened. You've got a nice, kind of almost like a roux going on in here. I'm going to add 2 cups of beef stock. Now we talked about the way the beef is going to be cooking in here. We're not browning the beef, and so I think adding beef stock is really important to add a little bit of extra richness to it. So I'm going to add 2 cups initial start of beef this is broth. You can do stock or broth. I happen to have stock or broth on hand. And I'm going to add, yes, a beer. Any beer that you want. I think it adds, again, a nice level of flavor. So I've got a beer and some beef broth in there. Okay? And you can see it's starting to look really beautiful. I'm going to go ahead and add my meat. Now, with this meat, I'm going to do a very lean ground beef. This is a 90-10. You could do an 80-20 if you wanted to, but because this meat is cooking in this and you're not draining the fat, I like it to be a little leaner. If you want to do a higher fat beef, go ahead and add the beef stock or broth and the beer, not the onions and spices, and just let it cook, and then put it in the refrigerator after it cools, and then you can skim the fat off. And the reason you don't want to put the spices in yet is because the spices will adhere to the fat and you'll lose all the flavor. Okay, so I added my beef in there. I'm just going to take some. And you can see it's against everything you think you should do. Putting raw meat into like broth is just wrong. But this is the way you do it. So you want to mash this meat up, get it really broken up, and I've reduced this down quite a bit. I don't want to overcook it. And we're going to start adding some more ingredients. And you can do a potato masher if you're having a problem getting your meat small enough in there. You want it to be really broken up in here. Sometimes I'll use an immersion blender, and I may do that later. When we come back, we'll see the texture of it, because you want this to be really thin. You don't want it to be chunky again. All right, so this is looking good. Looks like it could probably use a little bit more liquid. I'm going to add just a little bit more of the beef broth to it. I want it to be kind of soupy. That should be good. All right. So now we're going to add some more of the wet ingredients. We're going to do Worcestershire sauce. We're going to do, I'm looking at my cheat sheet, we got 2 teaspoons. Okay. And again, I don't measure anything, so people always ask me, what's the recipe? I just eyeball it. You know, just see what it tastes like and see what it needs. And this is, again, initial. I add them in initially, and then I'm going to tweak it a little bit more later. We've got that in. It needs a little bit of acid, so I like to use apple cider vinegar. You could use white vinegar, you could use different kinds. Sometimes they use sherry vinegar. I like apple cider vinegar for this. I'm going to shake it up, and it's also 2 teaspoons of it. And that's going to give it some acid. All right. Now the original recipe, so they say, there's so many myths about it. They say, there isn't any chocolate in it, there isn't this, there isn't that. The recipe that I use is told to use unsweetened chocolate. So what you want to do is get, I use unsweetened baking chocolate from Trader Joe's, but you can use anything. You just want it to be unsweetened. Do not buy sweetened chocolate. That's yucky. Okay? So you're going to use about half of a bar in here, half of one of the little cubes. So it's about half of an ounce. Okay, and it'll melt in there. It'll just melt up. Okay, we're dropping stuff here. Next, we're going to add our cinnamon. Yes, it has cinnamon in it, ground cinnamon. Greek style food, if you taste the meats, you can taste the allspice and the clove and the cinnamon. So this gives it that really, really interesting flavor. When you eat it, you're like, what is that flavor? It's the cinnamon. So we're going to add a teaspoon of the cinnamon. I'm going to take this off so I can get to it. I can get my nails to cooperate. There we go. And again, you probably don't want to do it over your pot in case you make a mistake, but I'm so like whatever when I'm cooking. There we go. I want to have enough in there that I can taste it. That's what your guests will say when they're eating it. Like, what is in this? So good. All right. We got our cloves. We got our thing. We need some bay leaves. I would say 1 large or 2 small. So let's find 2 good ones. We'll do 2.5. That's good. I like them to be full. So you can pull them out. That's the main thing. You don't want to serve a bay leaf on your guest dish. We need salt. I'm dropping stuff left and right. Actually, I'm going to do 2 teaspoons, and I'll go back in later and taste it. I don't want to over salt it. Okay? Something you can always adjust. I'd always go under than over. If your family likes things spicier, I'm going to do this red pepper flake. You can do cayenne pepper if you like to. Some people put hot sauce. It's totally up to you. I like to put the red pepper flakes, and I like maybe like half a teaspoon or so, just for a little bit of kick. You don't want it to be too hot. This is really, you want it to be really rich. The flavors, this isn't like a kick you in the face kind of flavor. This is a more mellow, delicious, dissolved flavor. Okay, I forgot the garlic. So we're going to put our garlic. It's about 4 cloves of garlic. And you want that in there for sure. Okay. So let me just go over everything, make sure we got it. Vinegar, cloves, salt, Worcestershire, cinnamon. Yep, I think we have everything in here. Now we need to do our tomato sauce. I'm going to do 1.5 cans, and again, I'm going to tweak this as it cooks to see if it needs that other half. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. And I'm going to let this just simmer. Oops, I put both of them in, I wasn't thinking. That's all right, we'll be good. All right. So the recipes say that they want this to cook for 1.5 hours. No, you want this to cook for like 3 to 5 hours. In fact, this is even better on the second day. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put a lid on it. I'm going to let it cook for about 2 to 3 hours, and I'm going to come back and I'm going to test it and see what it needs. I almost always tweak this. I'm adding more flavors, more whatever it needs. You're going to taste it. So I'm going to have you guys come back. We're going to show you how to tweak the flavors, and then we're going to show you how to do a 3-way. And I know you're thinking bad things about a 3-way, but this is the best 3-way you could ever imagine in your wildest dreams. Okay, so you can see the consistency of this chili is nice and thick the way we want it. No chunks, it's just really smooth. And because we use an 80 or 90-10 meat, we don't have a lot of fat on top. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and skim some of this off. Again, there's not that much, but you want to get a little bit of the oil that's on the top, just in little pockets. You can see the juice. And what I'm going to do is that when I get enough of it, is I'm going to put it in my boiling water. And this is what makes the pasta have that flavor. First, you're going to put the hot dogs in it if you're going to do Coney's, and let it boil in that. If you're not going to do Coney's, you don't need to. You're going to go ahead and add your pasta in there. My husband loves Coney's, so I'm going to do some Coney's for him. I got some Hebrew National beef franks. You can get whatever you like. I mean, just try and get them as high quality as you can. You don't want them to be yucky. But you're going to let these boil just so they're boiled through, and I'll keep them warm in the oven in this pot, and then I'll do the pasta. And all this flavor that's going into this water does add to the pasta, trust me. And then when it's all done, I'm going to show you how to make a 3-way the right way. I also want to say somebody had sent me a message when they saw the video earlier, and they said they added a little nutmeg to their Cincinnati chili, and I've never done that, so I thought I'd give it a try. I like to use the actual pods, and then you just grate it over, you know, and I use maybe 1/4 of one. So it has such a nice aroma, and it goes really beautifully with the allspice and the cloves and the cinnamon. So it's just a natural thing. I'll try it. I think it tastes good. I don't know if it made a difference in my chili, but you guys can decide. I thought I'd let you know that. All right, so we'll let that boil a little bit. We'll pull the hot dogs out, then we're going to put the pasta, and then the good part comes, the cheese and the onions and whatever you like on it. So